All right, well, it's just past 1. Welcome everyone to our webinar on hosting online contests. My hair's still a horrible mess, but whatever. That's a problem with online meetings, right? It's a mirror. We have the deck here and I think some contest chairs, and we've also invited some trios or, top 3 district leaders from neighboring districts, because we're all trying to figure this out together. And our region advisors are here as well. So we have a ton of manpower. What we're going to focus on today is the logistics on running online contests. We know that we just heard from TI about only doing contests online, and districts may even have the option of choosing something else. We're not going to talk about any of that right now. This is strictly the logistics of online contests. In case that's the way that we go, we've got that taken care of and we know how to do it. And then we have that additional information when we discuss a way forward for our district. But for now, please focus all of your questions around logistics of contests, not whether we should or shouldn't do something, or health-related questions, or conference, or anything else. Contest is the only scope of this particular event. And the deck is also meeting tomorrow, and we will be sending communication to members and officers in deck as we hear it, as we decided in the coming days. So hold tight on that. For now, I want to introduce our presenters today. We have with us our Club Growth Director, Tim Carlisle, who is also part of the task force when we met at the deck, figuring out the technology aspect of contests, and he has the Zoom account. Katrina Myers is our Division A Director, and I think you were the tech chair, right, for Mark's contest. So we just had a hybrid contest last week, this past week, and she was the tech chair for that. So they have some experience, and they're going to share kind of the best practices, the logistics of how to do some of the things behind the scenes, and answer any questions. So take it away, Tim and Katrina.
Thank you. Hey, Katrina, what I'm going to do is just kind of go through some of the basics and then let you delve into the technical, if that works.
Sounds perfect.
All right. So we've run a lot of contests between the two of us, and so we want to go over what we came up with at our deck meeting. For starters, the first thing is absolutely critical is making sure that you have a prior meeting separately with your contestants, and then a separate meeting with the judges and functionaries. Here's the reason for that, those 2 meetings. One, you need to make sure that when they have those meetings, they are using the technology they will use in the contest. If you don't do that, you're going to wind up in a world of potential problems. So if I'm using my work laptop, fabulous, I could test that at work or at home. But if I'm using something I'm only going to stick to at home, if we don't use that technology, you just set yourself up for potential challenges. As we have been told, you cannot do this without the TI or the district will bear no expense regarding the use of tools and things here. So if you're competing, you're kind of on your own in that regard. I suggest that when you have those meetings, like I said, you can answer any questions, and you can also instruct the contestants how they want to be viewed. If you stand away from the laptop so you can be seen standing, so you walk around, that's fine. The other thing that came up in another meeting I was in earlier said you have to be careful because the sound quality sometimes becomes challenging the further you are away from your laptop. If you're using the laptop's existing speakers and camera, mostly the speakers, just a heads up. We suggest some low-tech solutions here. Get a list of emails from your judges. Use email or a phone and an email they could scan their ballot piece and submit it into the ballot counters and the chief judge. We say submit it to all 3. That way it limits any potential collusion or anything. We don't think that's the thing that's going to happen when integrity is a big part of our core values. But we just think that's a smart idea, just so that everybody has kind of a level playing field. Drawing lots. Now, how do you do that online? This is Tim's, albeit low-tech solution, which is I have a piece of paper that has letters on one side, little blue stickies. I'm trying to get it on my screen without the background.
You have to turn off the virtual background if you're holding up paper, Tim.
Hang on, doing it right now, one sec. All right, let's see. All right, here we go. Ready? Okay, here is the letters on one side, numbers on the other side. As you can see, it's a critical part of this, and that was our low-tech solution to kind of resolve this. We also, you can have 2 sheets of paper with those, and you mix up the letters and numbers randomly order, and you should be good to go. The only people that should be on the screen when you start the contest, what is the person that's speaking. So if the Toastmaster or the chief judge is speaking, whoever is controlling that, which we call it a technology co-host, is they will be the person in charge of getting the person on video. So if it's a Toastmaster speaking, they should be on video until they hand it off to the chief judge, until they hand it off to, in our case this time, the evaluations test speaker. Once all of that is done, that the videos shift back and forth. Now I'm going to turn it over to with the exception of the timer. And again, what we suggest is the timer just have a blank piece of paper to hold up in front of the screen. And then you could either get red, yellow, green folders or whatever tool you choose. Use that to present. So they're not looking at the timer's face. They're just looking either at white, green, yellow, or red cards.
Tim, there's a question in the chat about drawing order via email in advance. Can you answer that question?
Yes, so we didn't do, you could technically do it in advance at the meeting with the contestants. I mean, I don't think there's any reason that you can't do that. What I did was simply take a piece of paper, which I put letters on one side, numbers on the other, and that you mix them up, and they could just be random letters, and you have numbers 1 through 5 or whatever you need. They pick a letter, and that's how they pick their speaking order. Low key, low tech, simple. Doesn't require Zoom. So I think that's helpful. Next, anything else, Shanta? Yes, Kitsy.
No, actually, Kat also answered that question.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Kitsy?
I just wanted to point out, so some of Tim and Kat are sharing their best practices and experience. Of course, everyone's a little different. So if you have technology you're already comfortable with that works, totally fine. We're just trying to keep things as simple as possible with what we're sharing. But, we know that different people have different tech tolerances. So if you have something else that will work really well, of course, these are just some of the things that the task force talked about when discussing this, to keep it as simple as possible, because the more tech you layer on, the more chances for something to go wrong.
I'm going to turn it over to Katrina now, and what she is going to show us is in the evaluation contest how to develop a breakout room where you can send people who are evaluation contestants. And Katrina, take it away.
Thanks, Tim. Okay, I wanted to make this an interactive session, and I tried sharing I have 2 computers going, and I tried sharing screens, but then it duplicates out into infinity. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna record my screen doing this, but I want you guys to all experience what it's like to be put into a breakout room and how to get back. So I'm gonna put all of you into the breakout room, and in the recording, you'll see how you can do it. You just kind of click the names that you need. Obviously, you're not gonna put everyone in the breakout room when you do this for real. But instead of just picking 5 of you at random, I'd like to put all of you in it so you know what it's like, how you can't see anyone in the other room. And then I'm gonna close the room, and then you guys can all come back. And then I'll play the recording for you and share my screen so you'll see exactly how I did it. It's pretty simple, but I'm gonna go ahead and get that started right now. Give me a
Are we
second.
recording this meeting, by the way, in case we want to show it to contest chairs and other folks who are not on this call right now?
Absolutely.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes, I am recording this. All right, I'm just opening up my QuickTime player so I can record my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. New screen recording. Okay. All right, so what you're gonna do is when you're the host of a Zoom meeting, especially if you have the pro account, which I have, and I've told all my area directors I was gonna help them with that. And I know other area directors and division directors and people within your areas and divisions also have those. But at the bottom of the bar, there are multiple things. You can stop your video, you can mute, invite others, manage participants. There's a share screen option, which you can also, I would recommend disabling that. And that way no one can share, because what happened during a contest that I ran recently is someone shared their screen in the middle of someone giving a speech, and then we had to stop everything. So I've just disabled that function for everyone. And then you go to the breakout rooms function, and you can do for the options, you can move people into breakout rooms automatically, or you can choose your options there. And this will all make a little bit more sense once I share my screen with you. So that you can rename the room so it's easy. I'll just call it evaluation, contestants. And then what I'm going to do is you can assign people to the room. So I'm just going to assign everyone on this call, which there's a lot of you. Normally this wouldn't take that long.
60 people.
Yeah, but what I would also recommend is when you have your people log in, it's best if you have them, and we just kind of discussed this on the other call. If you add them, ask them to edit their name when they log in as like Toastmaster - Lauren Burton, Chief Judge - Mayor Repetto, and that way it's easy also for the tech person to find the people that they need to turn on and off. If you also make those people a co-host with you, then if they move up to the top of the list, so they're easier to find. For the contestants, I'm going to add you all in here. And so now you have the option of joining. You should see a pop-up that says you've been invited to join a breakout room. Go ahead and press that and jump over there. I'm going to join you, and hopefully I'll see you all there.
We're here.
You need to unmute yourself, Katrina.
So that's where you can, if you just,
So what did we call that again? The separate room?
I just call it a
Breakout
breakout
room.
room.
The what?
It's a breakout room.
Breakout room. Oh, okay.
Breakout room. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording this meeting and then, or recording the QuickTime, and I'll share that with you in just a second.
Okay. And then are you going to send like instructions on how to do that?
So she's going to show you a video that shows exactly how she did
Oh,
it.
okay.
So bear with her.
Oh, okay.
All
Oh,
right,
okay.
so I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna share the QuickTime player. Okay.
Mayor says she can hear anything. Why might that be?
We're good on our end. We can, it's maybe her audio
Yes.
stopped working.
All right, well, we're just gonna keep going. We have the meeting recording as long as everyone else can hear. Okay, so you're gonna see a tile in the middle and it's all still shots of all of us. Okay, so does everyone see that on my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so press play and kind of talk you through what we were talking about. Okay, so here's where the breakout rooms are. If you can see my my mouse when I was kind of talking about it. So the breakout rooms are here. If you just, the first time you click it, so I clicked it earlier, which is why it came up to a different screen than when I clicked it before.
I don't have that button. Is that
You have that button if you're a host. You only have it if you're a host. So only the host has that. So the tech person will be the only one with that function. So people can't just put themselves into breakout rooms. So this is where you change the setting for sharing the screen. So only the host can share their screen. That way other people aren't sharing their screens and messing up the contest. So then we'll bring you back to the breakout room section. So if you press the breakout rooms, so originally when you do it, it won't look like this, but I was playing with it before. So normally it'll just say create a room. So on the bottom, you just say add a room or add a room there. And then I deleted the other rooms because they were just tests. So then I renamed it to what I wanted it to be. Yes, I wanted it to be evaluation contestants. So that way it made sense and people weren't like, why are you sending me to this random breakout room? And then you just assign the people that need to go there. The only people that need to go to that room are going to be the sergeant at arms and the evaluation contestants. And so what happens is, and again, this is kind of a low tech version. Again, people are going to go in there. The sergeant at arms will say, okay, you have 5 minutes. So everyone kind of waits for everyone to get into that room, which again, you get a notification and the tech person will tell them this is what's going on. You just automatically go over there. It's super easy. And then they have 5 minutes. The sergeant at arms says go. Everyone's going to be heads down writing. And then when the sergeant at arms says, okay, that's 5 minutes, and then what's going to happen is they're going to take their notes. They're going to show the sergeant at arms, okay, I have notes on this side. I don't have notes on this side. They're going to fold it in half and then step away from their computer. Leave their sound on so that way the sergeant at arms knows they didn't dial in from another phone or device and are listening to another contestant because they can actually hear the audio that's happening from their computer. And then it's just going to be a time of silence. And, you know, a lot of people will kind of run through what they're going to say in their head and stuff like that. And that's totally fine. But then they just kind of hold their notes in front of them, away from the computer, kind of step back so the sergeant at arms can kind of see, okay, they're not reading their notes. They're just kind of hanging out and waiting. And then when it's their turn again, the sergeant at arms will tell them, okay, it's time to go back to the main session. And that's where the person will re-add themselves to the main session room.
Quick question, is the breakout room feature available in the free version of Zoom?
I do not believe it is.
I don't know.
That's why I don't see it.
I'm not sure.
I've never seen it in the free version, so that's what actually I was asking. We can assume that probably not available.
Yeah.
And then you can repurpose this for if the international speech contestants, they are allowed to hear the other contestants give their speeches. If for some reason they don't want to hear the speech, then they can request to be sequestered in a room, and then they can go into that breakout room and then be told when to come back. Someone can tell them and they can come back. One of the easiest ways to communicate that is for the tech person to also be assigned to that room. So during that minute of silence, when everything's done, the tech person can hop over and say, okay, it's time for the next contestant, and then pop back, and then the next contestant can follow. Any other questions?
And Katrina, the contestants can themselves leave the room when it's their turn, and that automatically kicks them to the main room?
That is correct. That's why we've asked that they step away from their computer, so that way we know they're not playing around and accidentally get back into the room. So if they just kind of push their chair back from their computer and kind of get themselves settled and ready for giving their speech, that's kind of what we've requested. That's the best practice that we've thought of, anyway.
Just Katrina, comment that I would like to add here. This is Shamla from District 101. I would recommend that the contestants and the contested run, because I just got bumped out of the meeting room because I said leave the breakout session, and then I was out of the whole meeting and I had to dial back in. So some of these, I think the contestants and everyone has to know what happens when you click something unknowingly.
Sure.
I also closed the meeting room, which might have made it also a little bit confusing. Normally it's not that way.
Okay.
I guess I shouldn't have closed the meeting room. I should have just asked everyone to come back. I just didn't want anyone to get left behind, so I closed it.
Okay. Yes, because I just used leave breakout room before and it worked fine. This is the first time it actually bumped me out of the meeting completely. Now I understand why. Okay, thank you.
This
Good to
is
know.
Vicky. I have a question regarding a table topics contest. And it's really important that we make sure that they don't have somebody text them or send them the question. And in person, we take away their cell phones. How are we going to handle this in this situation?
I was going to say kind of the same way we do the evaluation contestants. Just have them step away from the camera and have their hands kind of folded in front of them, and have the sound on so you know someone's not walking up to them whispering in their ear. And the sergeant at arms has them as tiles throughout so they can keep an eye on them.
You know, part of this is also, wow, you know, I certainly agree with Katrina's comment that, you know, we are emphasizing integrity here. You know, this is what we've been put into. We have to kind of work with it. And when we brief all of our contestants, I think that has to be a really key point.
Yeah, you know, and maybe part of the, like Katrina said, you know, where you're having the camera be the proof, you know, maybe it's that they have to show that their phone is upside down, so they can't even accidentally see someone texting them that question. You know, pointing the camera down to whatever it is that you want the essay to be, you know, monitoring. But yeah, I think some of this is going to have to be on that integrity piece, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So we don't have table topics contest this time around.
No, I think she's
Not
from
in our
a
district, but other districts do.
Oh, other districts have. Okay.
Yeah. We have people from other districts here as well. Yeah, so our district is evaluation, but I know some other districts are doing telltale, table topics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, I think that there's a couple other things. Katrina, I'm going to jump back in here. When we talk about the rest of the contest, so we've kind of showed you how the breakout room works and then how to come out of the breakout room. And you have people do that one at a time as they're going to present their evaluation speech. When we get to the end of that, you know, you have the contestant judging, protesting, or timing communication. We're suggesting 2 timers individually, and that their job is to email the times to the contest chair and the chief judge. It's 2 people that are not likely in collusion. And I think that's a really good point, as well as making sure that your tiebreaker judge emails contest chair and chief judge only with their results. So that's kind of the only other thing really that I think is really significant that's important is we have a lot of people on video. If you have whoever is hosting that meeting that doesn't have high-speed internet, you may want to consider limiting the amount of video for everyone. I mean, you need to check your judges with your contest share. They should know who those judges are, you know, with live video and stuff. But you also need to make certain that you don't have everybody that's on the contest on video. You kind of need to minimize that because you don't know what the bandwidth of your location can take.
Kat wants to talk about timing, Tim and Katrina.
What I would suggest is there's a way to pin a video. So if you go, depending on like what view you're looking at, like if you're in the gallery view or in the other view, if you hover over a picture and there's 3 little dots, and if you scroll down, there was a way you can pin video. So what I would suggest is when the timer comes in, they change their name to timer so the contestant knows who that is. And during that minute of silence between when they start and the new person, they can pin the timer's video, and that's what they're gonna see then. That's gonna be the big thing on their screen. That way they're not gonna lose track of who the timer is. And the timer's just gonna, like Tim said, just have a piece of paper, so it's not gonna be a distracting face. Be a white piece of paper, and then when it's green, they'll put up a green piece of paper or something that says green on it. And then when it's yellow, and then red, same thing. And then when it's red, it's just gonna be red until they stop talking. And that's kind of what I would suggest to do for that. So the only videos that's gonna be on is gonna be the speaker and the timer. I would suggest for everyone else, pin the speaker's video to your screen.
So are we, just a quick question, are we recommending for contests specifically, because I know we talked about something different for meetings, that people still have their cameras on, or only the speaker and timer?
Just the speaker and the timer.
Okay, so that'll take care of that.
Yeah, and then also when there's speaking parts, the tech chair is going to be kind of turning videos on. If the Toastmaster, let's say, forgets to turn their video back on, that's going to be kind of the tech chair is going to watch that and turn videos on, unmute people when it's their turn to talk. Be like, okay, great. Now it's time for our Toastmaster to come back. Please welcome Tim Carlisle, and then they'll go to that name and unmute. That's again why I said please like put your name, your function, and then your name. So maybe like it'd be eval 1, eval 2, eval 3, eval 4 for the evaluation contestants, int 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever for the international. So then they can kind of go down a
but we're saying, but judges shouldn't do that.
No, judges will be the only people that I need to know who they are would be timer, Toastmaster, and the chief judge, and the contest chair. Right, and then the contestants, because those 4 people have parts that we need that are speaking parts, or they're holding up paper for timing. But none of the other functionaries, ballot counters, I don't need to know who you are, or the judges. And then the contestants, it's just easier if you can rename them, so it's easier to find you easily, quickly to turn you on and off. Does that answer your question?
Yep, yeah, that makes sense.
So there are a few questions about using the breakout room for vote counting. I think it was mentioned earlier, but maybe a good idea to say we are using the low tech option for that.
So I would suggest if you're going to do a breakout room, then there's a different breakout room, and the only people assigned to that breakout room are the judge and the ballot counters, so that no one, like the contestants, can't just wander in there when they're doing that. Was what
I think the low-tech solution here may be the best. We can make another breakout room, but depending on who's running the meeting, it probably won't always be Katrina or myself, probably a lot of other people. We need to make certain that we don't add more trouble than it's worth, because if it doesn't work for them, then it's a whole nother different story.
But we learned today that you can send a host code to anybody, right, to be able to create breakouts and whatnot. Because you can create multiple breakouts as well, right, Katrina?
That's correct. You can have multiple breakouts, and the host code is really if you don't have like a tech chair on, because like I'm the host of this meeting, and it's my meeting, and I can assign other people as co-hosts. But the only the host themselves, only the person assigned as the host can create the breakout rooms. Now, once the breakout rooms are created, anyone can go in and out to the breakout room that they are assigned to. So if you have one breakout that's evaluation contestants, one breakout for international contestants that want to pop over, if they want, if that's their choice, and then one for judges and ballot counters, then you have 3 breakout rooms. The 2 for sure will be used are probably the judges and ballot counters and the evaluation contestants, or if you have table topics, that would be one of your breakout room names. Right. You can always do the ballot counting over the phone if you can do a 3-way call, but sometimes that can be more complicated for someone than just popping over in a breakout session.
Right. So lots of options that people can decide what works for them. Yeah.
Now, Katrina, it will be a good time to talk about briefing, which actually happens before the contest.
Yeah, so I think a lot of these tech things that people are concerned about, maybe contestants are a little bit nervous. Well, how does it feel to go back into these rooms and all of this kind of stuff? Is I would have 2 different briefings. I'd have one briefing for your judges, and that way you can brief them privately, and no one needs to know who they are because they are supposed to be anonymous. So you don't want to have them as part of like your contestant briefing, for example. And then you have like you can have your judges and functionaries together, because really that's always done as one big briefing. And then you have your contestant briefing separately. And during the contestant briefing, if for any reason you're using the breakout rooms for those contests, like the evaluation or table topics, then they can practice going back and forth to the room, and you can explain the expectations when they're in that breakout room. And I would suggest having that. You can, the Toastmasters International said we can have those briefings ahead of time. So you can have your judges briefing like the day before, and maybe your contestants briefing 2 days before. You can record the contestants briefing and have them practice standing, how they're gonna stand while they're speaking, and get used to kind of like where the edges are of my camera. And you can record that and send that to them. So they can also hear, oh, I need to project more, or oh, I'm talking loud enough. And so they can feel more confident and comfortable in their delivery.
One point I would like to add there is from TI, the direction that we got was all the speakers should be visible waist up, tip of the head till the waist. That's the bare minimum we need to see. And once we define the staging area or the stage area, each person's stage area is going to be a bit different because they're going to do it from their own personal room or wherever. But then once they decide it, they need to be within that. They should not be out of that stage area, even for a moment, right? And
Right.
then the visibility of the body, waist up till the tip of the head.
Yeah, thanks, Kalias, for, yeah, that's
Yeah,
correct.
that's a really good. I think that's a really good point from Kalidas, because it's just to make sure they're all the same, whatever the contest decides. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's something you guys can do on that briefing call. That way all the contestants know and understand, okay, this is the good lighting, this is not good lighting. Here's your parameters. Make sure you have that space where you're at to stand far enough back that we get the waist up view as well.
There are a lot of questions from the chat. Is the time to answer that, or should I wait till?
I'm good to answer questions, Tim.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, so Lauren asked, is there a contest script which includes some of these technology stuff embedded in it? Is there a script, contest script?
I wrote up something which I sent out to I think some of the other top 4, but we can certainly work on sending that out via Basecamp or something for our deck.
I think that'll be helpful. And another
Yeah,
question.
I just want to follow on that. So because we're not in a physical space, there really isn't a need for the Sergeant at Arms to really start the meeting. I think you still could, but that could also be an opportunity for the tech chair. Because the Sergeant at Arms is still important for bringing contestants back and forth and for the evaluation contest only. But other than monitoring the evaluation contestants when they're in the breakout room, the Sergeant at Arms doesn't really have any other role in this contest because they're not bringing contestants in and out of the room and they're not starting the meeting. So the tech chair could be the one to kind of give some of those requirements as well.
Good idea.
Yeah, another question is how many new roles do we have with the online contest?
Hold on, before you answer that question, I wanted to ask a question because you talked about this already with the briefings.
Sure.
Are we telling, when we do the judges briefing, can we include in there about, like, they should be judging the speech, not like how well their lighting is or things like that? I think that's.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Well, are we going to say just how well the speech is, not the lighting or the sound?
Right. I think, and we can talk about this, but I think there needs to be basically, like, if the internet cuts out, that's not their fault, right? Like,
Sure.
So I think judges need to be a little bit mindful and patient of, like, this is not the norm, and there's certain things that shouldn't be, like, they shouldn't be docked on.
Yeah, the other thing that we're going to do is when it comes to timing, because we're going to have 2 timers independently timing and they won't be sitting next to each other. We believe that it's pretty prudent that if the timing's different, significantly, we're going to err on the side of the contestant because we think that's the fair thing to do.
Great. Another thing, there was a question, do international speech contestants start in the breakout room so that they cannot hear each other's speeches?
No, there's not that requirement, because in a regular in-person contest, they can go and hear each other's speeches. Some international contestants don't want to hear speeches prior to theirs, in which case we can have a breakout room for them to hang out in, but that's not a requirement.
What do you think about interviewing the contestants? Do you need a separate breakout room for that?
No, because if you're in the breakout room, no one else can hear it.
You got to be careful not to interview people if they're in both contests as well. Something, and I know Katrina is probably going to say that.
That's correct.
Yeah. And then I think it will be helpful to talk about the evaluation contest because there is a question, does the test speaker go into a breakout room?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah. Okay.
No, the breakout room is just to sequester the contestants so they can't hear the speeches in front of theirs. That is all really that's for. And then we're providing a second breakout room for the judges and the ballot counters to talk in case they have something to talk about. Just an easy way for them to communicate with each other. They could also do that on a call, a 3-way call or a 4-way call, depending on how many people we've got going on. But yeah, no, it's not necessary. The breakout room is just for sequestering the evaluation contestants because they're not supposed to hear the speeches before theirs.
Yep.
That's it.
Who should have access to the judges breakout room? The chief judge, the judges? Should they?
No, not the judges. That would just be for it's for ballot counting purposes after. So not the actual judges, would be the ballot counter and the chief judge.
So it's a ballot count breakout. Really.
Yes, exactly.
Now, hold up just a second, Katrina. There could be a reason to make a separate breakout room for the judges if there was a protest. You would need a separate room for the judges, chief judge, contest chair. Say if somebody was potentially plagiarizing something, and then they would have that, and then we would have to potentially add the contestant, and they would make their case to the judges right there, something along those lines. But that's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah, yeah.
So somebody is advocating using Slack channel instead of the breakout rooms. I think as we talked about earlier, I think individual contests may choose to do some things differently.
Yeah,
right?
you can use any technology you'd like. We're suggesting this particular channel because you can do everything in one technology. We also know that the audio and video for Zoom is pretty good. We're not saying you have to use Zoom, but you could use Google Hangouts, free conference call, but you may, go to meeting, whatever. Our goal is primarily to make sure that you have quality audio and video. So, whatever you think will work for you, that's your call. We're just providing our experience and options.
And the people in the breakout room, the whole point of that is they can't hear what's going on in the main meeting. So they're completely sequestered. So they're not going to hear the interview that's going on between the test speaker and the Toastmaster. They're not going to hear the other speeches before theirs. It's a completely different space. It's almost like a different meeting, but without having to log out of this Zoom meeting, log into another Zoom meeting, and then log back out and log back in. So we're trying to do a breakout room because there's just less pieces to the puzzle. That's another reason, sure, Slack works great. I use it at work. I love Slack. However, you're just adding another technology medium for people to log in and use, especially if they're not used to using technology. We're trying to make it simple. So it's just one thing that people have to learn how to use.
I think we missed the question, and this is my fault because I interrupted Shanta when she was saying it, about the different roles, the different extra roles that are needed.
Oh, okay. I think the only extra role is the tech person.
Yeah.
You could also, because I ran the tech for a contest that was a hybrid contest last week, and really I had my earphones in so I could make sure that the sound wasn't going out, but when it's 100% virtual, that doesn't necessarily matter as much. But yeah, I think just the tech person would be the only extra role.
And I want to clarify before, when we were talking about what to instruct judges, we'll get some guidance from TI, because we know there's some specific guidelines from TI as far as the video quarterfinals and what video disqualifies someone. And so we're trying to figure out what of that applies to us at the district, area division district level.
Okay.
Only because this is live video versus those were recorded videos that we had more control over things. So we want to find out what of that do we need to keep in mind, because at that level, contestants do get disqualified if they don't have good lighting or if they don't meet certain requirements. So we need to find out on our end what of that we need to comply with. So just FYI on that, we'll get back to you.
And Katrina, before we go ahead, I would like to clarify for everyone outside of District 4 what we mean by hybrid. Till now, we had the in-person contest, and we, on the other side, other extreme is totally virtual, where everyone is joining a meeting, whether it is WebEx or Zoom or Slack or whatever the technologies. And when we talk about hybrid, we are talking about a certain group, a small group, getting together in one location, and then the rest from all over the place. It could be a judges, the chief judge with the contestants with one place or whatever. So that's what we mean by hybrid.
Thanks for clarifying. Yeah, sorry. We're not doing hybrids anymore, but
Yeah, right. I mean, TI says do only online, right?
Yeah. So, but then when we said we did hybrid last week, so we just want to clarify that.
Right.
Of course, we're not doing it anymore. Now that we're talking about this, there was one more thing I wanted to just bring in, because when Tim tried this, during the last deck meeting of District 4, when this was discussed in detail, and when we had a action team put together, which was led by Tim and some other folks, when we tried it, one thing that we learned is we have to strike this right balance between the visibility and the voice, of course, because both are important. The judges need to see the contestant, as we said earlier, waist and above, that's a bare minimum. At the same time, the judges should be able to hear the contestants clearly and see the body movements and the facial expressions and whatnot. Everything is important. So it actually is a very good point to make a note and inform the contestants that the onus is on the contestants to ensure that they have the proper lighting in the place that they are going to use. Because if they put in a wonderful speech, but the expressions were not captured fully because of the lack of the camera quality or the distance or the lighting altogether, it actually is their own fault, right? I mean, fault is a wrong strong word, but of course, what I mean to say is onus is on the contestants to ensure that they actually back up their speech with the best possible technology setting that they have.
and that's
So
why
there are more questions, especially with respect to next contest being on Saturday, and does anyone have one before so that we can eavesdrop? And was there a contest held using Zoom already? When is the first contest going to be online? I think these are all questions that can be answered, I think.
I need to double check with my area directors, but we should be having 2 virtual contests this week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday. Those the information's posted on d4tm.org, so you can go there. I'm Division A, just FYI. But
there's also a scheduled contest tomorrow, but we're going to reschedule it, is my understanding. And that is at E3, Division E downtown. That's Annie Hayes Division. But I think we're going to have to reschedule that so we can get our arms around all this.
Actually, Tim, I'm right here. So the thing with, yes, I've been here the whole time. The thing with Area E3 is we were scheduled to go and we have the venue. I'm actually confirming with Nathan that whether there's any cancellation fees, and if so, I will show up at the venue. That's okay. The thing is, we're still waiting to figure out if the district is going to go ahead and do the international competition. That is hopefully what we're going to figure out on Monday. Because if we are not, then there is less reason for all the area directors to do all of that.
Okay.
So what Annie's talking about, this is at let's hold off on all the questions related specifically to District 4 contests, when they're happening, if they're happening, all that. That's what we're talking about at our emergency deck meeting tomorrow. So let's not talk about that here. We'll figure that out offline, Annie and everyone, and we'll once we all talk as a group, we can also talk there about things like, costs, finances, all of that can be talked about at that other meeting. And scripts and soup accounts. And so right now, all we're talking about here is the logistics. If you were to hold a contest online, how does that work? So let's limit our questions to that, and we'll talk about the other things at that meeting tomorrow.
So there's one question from Lauren. Can Katrina recap what the tech person does?
Sure. Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't on mute. Yeah, the tech person is going to be the one that's going to set up your Zoom meeting for you. That's going to assign your people to the breakout room. So you're going to assign a sergeant at arms and the evaluation contestants to a breakout room called eval. You can set up another breakout room for the international contestants and just assign them and maybe the sergeant at arms to that one, so the sergeant at arms can pop over and get them when it's their turn. But that one's an optional room, depending on if anyone cares to not see their competition. And then the other room would be a room for the ballot counters. So you call it like ballots or ballot counting, and the chief judge and the ballot counters would be assigned to that room. And then the so that's kind of the setup part of the meeting. And then during the meeting, the tech chair is just going to make sure that it's set to mute everyone upon entry. Going to make sure the sharing function is turned off for everyone so no one can share their screen. And then they're going to keep people muted if someone accidentally unmutes themselves, remute them, turn off videos so that's not distracting. And then they're also going to turn on videos as it's people's turn to talk. So when it's the Toastmaster's turn to talk, they'll turn on the Toastmaster's video if the Toastmaster isn't comfortable doing that themselves, and then turn it off when it's time for the chief judge to come up and give talk about the rules for the contest. And then when it's their turn, they're kind of just keeping tabs on the technology part of the meeting for people that aren't as comfortable turning on and off their videos and muting themselves. So they're just kind of the ones keeping an eye on that. Does that make sense? You can also assign a co-host to help you. If you feel like that's going to be too much, you can assign some co-tech chairs. The co-host in a meeting is not going to be able to create breakout rooms. That's just the host. But if you're a co-host, you can go ahead and mute people or turn off videos. If that seems to be too much of a whack-a-mole for the tech chair, you can get a co-host to help you with that.
I see. Okay. So it would be helpful for us to have like a run of show for the tech chair so that they have written down what they need to do at each time.
Yeah, so they should have the agenda. You can send out the agenda in advance when you do the briefings for the contestants, and when you're picking the numbers with the contestant briefing, and that way you have that. You should give that information to the tech chair. You could have the tech chair on those calls as well. They might be the ones that are setting up those calls for you, so they're going to be on them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, so you're going to have the agenda so they know what comes next in the show flow. And it should be someone who's familiar with contests, who's been to a contest before, been a contest chair before, so they kind of understand the feel of it. They should also have a copy of the script in front of them so they kind of know what's coming next. How long is the chief judge going to talk for? How long is the Toastmaster going to talk for? When is it the turn for the test speaker to come up? That kind of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you don't have to create anything special. Just give them the agenda and the script.
Okay. In the past, I've had Kitsy gave me a run of show document last year, and I used that. I think it was really helpful for the timers, and it's a very precise document, which I think might be helpful to have.
Are you talking about the rule book?
No, it was a run of show. It was like kind of minute by minute what has to happen. And
I think you created that yourself, Lauren, actually.
Well, somebody, you gave me one. I adapted.
Lauren, yeah.
I think because your contest was, yeah.
Yeah, Kitsy, Lauren is talking about the script, which I shared with her last year when she was the contest chair.
It was called Run of Show. It was a Run of Show document.
It does, yeah.
I don't know. I've never seen one, so I can't.
I know I have one for the conference. Maybe I share that as a sample. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But
maybe you did. Maybe that was it.
Right.
Maybe that was it. Possible, yeah.
Kitsy, we are going to post this recording of this, right? Somewhere. Where are we going to post?
Yeah, we'll figure that out. We're working on information for all this stuff, so we'll figure that out.
Okay, that was a question.
Yep.
Any other questions about how to run a successful contest online?
Yes, I have a question. When do we send our agenda or program to everybody?
You can send that when you send the invitation for the briefing. You can send it
Okay.
to them in that document.
And then should I change the registration link to have a Zoom link or?
Actually, what I would do is, because you want to capture all the registrations and make sure, for the integrity wise, make sure like you're not just giving the Zoom link to everyone. It's just best if you have everyone pre-register with you and then you send out an email, BCC everyone the day of and be like, okay, everyone, here's the link for the Zoom meeting. I think Mark did that when he did his contest last week, when he had the online option.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
This is Vicky. I wanted to just have you comment on, there is a need for you to, in advance for online contests, to be able to get your eligibility forms in advance. So those are reviewed, as well as get in your bio, especially if you are going to interview. So that as you're figuring out your project plan or your timing, don't forget those two important pieces.
Yeah, eligibility forms for both judges and contestants, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, when I did my online, I did an in-person contest last year. I sent all that out ahead of time, so that way I had it before the contest.
Absolutely.
And I recommend that for in-person or online. That's always the best practice. Thanks for bringing that up, Vicky.
Hi, this is Mare. I know that Area B is going to be a joint contest on the 18th, and I think that it's a good idea to have that sort of dry run for the contestants. How far do you think it should be before that to happen? Because some people need to get stuff set up.
I would say a minimum of 2 days. I mean, 2 days should be enough time, but if you want to give them a week, you can give them a week. But that'd be my recommendation. What about you, Tim? Do you have a different idea?
Yeah, I think you have to give them at least 2 or 3 days just to get that set up. And we're very understanding. We realize that we may have to reschedule some things. Doing the briefing and stuff generally isn't a huge thing, but we need to do it with people with their technology that they're going to use, period.
So Tim, Katrina, I know that you both have Zoom accounts that you've offered to use, right? And it seems like that's the technology of choice that you guys used to sort of vet this whole process. So what do you do when you have 2 area contests on the same day? So for example, Babu's contest and my contest is both scheduled on the 23rd. Is there a first come first serve to use the Zoom account, or how are you going to have people use the Zoom account? Or do we need to get our own sort of technology sorted out?
Can we talk about this one tomorrow with everyone? Because I'd like to
Okay.
how many we'll have, and then we can decide what to do there.
Yeah, that's more of a District 4 thing. I agree.
But we can solve that. Yeah, we can solve for that.
I have one recommendation for everyone. As long as you are on video, it would help not to move around too much because it kind of distracts. So just so you know what we are experiencing.
That would be me.
And I think I saw a question pop up about how far back from the camera should you be, and full body we discovered is really hard on the audio. So what we discussed earlier was waist up is really what the recommendation is, and you should be able to be waist up and still be heard. And that's what really the contestant briefing is to test for. I'd also recommend maybe not doing it in your kitchen because it's a little bit more echoey. Try to be in like a living room so it's not so echoey when you're talking. But again, test that when you're doing the contestant briefing and have people test that with their computers based on their availability to move it.
Yeah, and you'll need to be fairly close, like within a few feet, because if you get too far away, like I said, Katrina said, audio just goes bad. So.
Hi, this is Mary again. Is there going to be a tech checklist? You know, sort of like when we do the briefing or the check, these are the things that we want to make sure that, you know, we can see you, blah, blah, blah? Is there some sort of checklist you guys created?
We can create one.
Yep.
Yes, please. Thank you. Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's really crucial for everyone as you host your contest, continue to share what worked and didn't, and we can continue to add to those best practices. So we put together that spreadsheet from the first deck meeting. Mark put together his PDF, and we'll just continue to do that and gather all these things. So as new things come up and new questions come up, we can continue to add to that.
Yeah, we're all learning.
Can I make a comment? Can I make a comment, Katrina?
Yeah.
I just want to second what Shanta was saying, that if you step away from your computer or move, that you go down to the bottom and stop the video so that you aren't causing distractions.
Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah, and this is also why it's so important that during the contest, all that stuff's off and the audio is
Yeah,
off,
right.
so it doesn't pop up. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We can put that in that tech guide, you guys. So who was going to do the tech guide? Or are you doing it, Katrina?
I can do it.
Okay, awesome. Or the checklist, whatever.
Yeah, it'll be a checklist for tech. Yeah.
All these things.
Yeah.
Awesome. You're going to get so good at this, Katrina.
I know.
I'll make sure they call you Katrina instead of me. How's that? Just kidding. All right. Any other questions? We're almost out of our time.
I'm sorry, this is a question. So did I hear correctly that we can use Katrina's Zoom account? I'm still unclear which Zoom account I need to be using.
Yes, Ying, for Division B or Division A area directors, I have already committed that I will set up all of your Zoom meetings for you. So you just need to work with me on that. Yeah, I'll work with you individually offline.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and for everyone else, we'll talk about this at our call tomorrow as well, and figure out if what capacity do we have in the team, and if we need to invest in anything else as well. So
Yeah, I'll just chime in for Division D. I'm not able to use, I'm in a security company, so I'm not able to just give out my Zoom account. And
again, let's not talk about this now. We'll talk about this
Yeah.
at the deck. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you sending an invite for that? Because I just got these things today, totally randomly. They just appeared on my calendar. So what is the deck meeting for tomorrow? What is that and when?
Yes, I did send an invite and an email earlier today, 7:30 p.m. tomorrow. That's for District 4 only, for our district executive committee meeting.
I got it.
Yep, me too.
Because we have some decisions that we have to make as a team, and then we'll talk about some all these things. So that's why I'm sorry to bunt some questions, but we have to make some decisions before we can answer those questions as a team. So.
Now, Katrina, I had one last question there. We have a question from Joseph. If he can get a copy of the tech guide, and I'm sure everyone, even outside of District 4, who are attending this call would be interested in that. Is there a way you can pull out the email IDs of all the attendees on this call and send it to all of them?
You're muted.
Katrina, you're muted.
All right. My cat was meowing in the background. I should be able to do that. So I'll definitely do that. If not, we're going to post it, I'm sure, to the D4TM website. But yeah, I should be able to pull all the email.
Or Joseph, if you don't get it in the next couple of days, please send an email to either dd@d4tm.org, dd for district director, or quality@d4tm.org, d for district 4tm, right? d4tm.org. So please send an email to any of us, and we will direct you to Katrina.
I should be able to get all the email addresses though, and we'll definitely get that out.
Yeah, I can follow up with the DDs that I invited to this call. I can follow up with you with anything that we follow up with our deck, and then you can send to whomever you need to. So I have those emails at least. I think there's a few others because they invited their own trios, but yeah, we can get that information. Also, we started I'll share it. We started a Google folder for the region too, so I can drop it in there too. So
perfect.
Someone had a question or a recommendation that we may need a checklist or protocol list for contestants as well as functionaries, you know, so when you're putting that together, it might help to do both. Kind of like, and I think we'll need some, we can share with you some, whatever guidance we get from TI as far as what we have to comply with from the regional if we need to, but just some of like, have good lighting and good audio and whatever.
There's a question about guest speakers.
So this is not from our district, but yeah, it's still, the idea is to have the contest as normal, just virtually.
Mm-hmm. So if you have a test speaker for the evaluation contest, yeah, we're still doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I think this may be different guest speaker. In contests, you invite dignitaries, right?
Test speaker, I think is, yeah, Joseph, can you?
This is guest speaker.
Yeah.
Can you clarify what that means, Joseph?
Joseph?
Let me find you and unmute you.
Yeah, he may be on.
Joseph.
I'm talking about our VIP guests. That's what he says.
That's up to you. I mean, I think that you guys might be doing something different in your district. I think the idea is that we would do whatever we would do normally, but virtually. So I think it's up to you guys what you're doing in your district. I would check with your trio.
I am the trio.
Oh, well then you decide.
The trio. We all have guests the night before and guests during the event. Just want to know if we're still doing that virtually or we're minimizing our cost and time for the contest now, for the conventions.
Yeah. I think that's up to you guys. I don't want to dictate what you guys do. I think we don't have that in our district. We just have the contest.
Katrina and Tim, is there a way to fix a ribbon? I know that you can pin, the user of that ribbon can pin certain people, but is it possible so that the co-host or the technical person show maybe the Toastmaster, search the timer, those types of things?
Are you talking about in like the speaker view?
Yes, the speaker view, not the gallery view. So in other words, it's not alphabetical order, I don't think. No, I don't see it that way. I just see, actually, I'm the first one on the left, then I see just random people showing over to the right, unless I pin them. Is there a way for the host to, or technical host to pin that?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay, that's all.
There's a way for you to see where you can have it where it's just, you're just viewing, you hide the non-video participants. So anyone not on video goes away and you only see the people that are on video. And if you just hover over one, if you're in the view where you're seeing the ribbon of pictures across the top and the person speaking on the bottom, if you go to the little 3 dots, just hover over any of those pictures in the ribbon, and then you just go show non-video participants or hide non-video participants. And then anyone not on video should go away, and that should solve your problem if you're just trying to see the people that are on video currently.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you.
Sure.
I think we're good. Anybody else?
Joe, I am not on green screen. This is a virtual background. Otherwise, you'd see my kitchen.
Yeah, I have got to figure that out. That's my next goal.
If you hover over the little caret next to where it says stop video if you're on video or start video if you are, if you click that, there should be an option that says choose virtual background.
No, I know that.
Oh, okay.
It's just not working for me because I don't have good lighting or something. So I got to figure all that out separately.
Got it.
All right, well, I think we're out of time. Thank you, Tim and Katrina, so much for doing all this legwork and sharing with us. And for the District 4 folks, we have our deck meeting tomorrow night where we'll talk about, make some decisions. And so we'll talk about our own Zoom and all that stuff there. If you have any concerns, please feel free to share them with us ahead of time. That way we know to expect them and plan for it. So if you have questions or any of these things that we didn't answer today, just go ahead and share them with me, and I'll make sure that those are part of the agenda. Because we do want to keep we will be following parliamentary procedures so that we can make sure everybody's heard and things don't get chaotic, and we're going to have a vote and all that. So so if you submit those questions ahead of time, that'll help out. Kat is laughing. Because I know everybody has lots of questions, so especially if you can't attend, just come in and send your questions in. We'll be sure to address those. If we don't have quorum, then we'll do a vote virtually, or sorry, via email, via the, what is it called, Kat? Buddy, whatever, voting. But we wanted to give you the forum to share and ask questions first before we make any decisions. So, all right, thanks for everybody from outside of our district for joining as well. Hopefully this was helpful. And as you come up with your own things, please share as well. We are gonna do all this together. So thank you, team, everyone, and have a fantastic rest of your Sunday.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.